I very much regret not being fit enough to be with you in Cape Town for WTM Africa this year, but very pleased to have the opportunity to speak to you about the latest on green claims and certification, to talk about mis-selling and greenwashing and the relationship between that and green hushing. The Green Claims Directive has, we think, disappeared. There was considerable concern amongst MEPs about the implications for small businesses, and it does look as though that is now pending some major initiative in the future. But in the meantime, the Empowering Consumers for the Green Transition Directive will be coming into force in September 2026. And in the UK, of course, there's the Green Claims Code, which is continued. These measures are intended to prevent mis-selling to residents of Europe or of the UK. The danger with these approaches is not that they're a bad thing in themselves. Mis-selling is something which should be prevented wherever possible. But the danger is of green hushing to avoid the risk. And that's been the primary concern for the responsible tourism movement from the beginning. The Empowering Consumers Directive, which will come into force from September in the different nation states of the European Union, will make it much more difficult to display a sustainability label unless it's based on a certification scheme and one that's publicly recognised. It might be difficult to make environmental claims that are unsubstantiated or not based on a product's entire life cycle. It will not be acceptable to make an environmental claim without clear, objective, publicly available and verifiable commitments. But it's our contention that this need not prevent you making specific claims wherever you can support them with evidence, and we should avoid green hushing wherever possible. There are some problems with certification which I know have been coming to the fore, particularly in Africa, because many certification schemes have been suggesting that they are the solution to the problem of the Green Claims Directive. I don't accept that that's the case, and I'm sure it's going to be debated on the panel today. There are several problems with certification. There are many schemes, and they're also process driven. They don't tell us anything about what the individual business has achieved or what the consumer will experience. So, for example, in 2018, when Cape Town was in the drought, it wasn't possible to find out which hotel is using the least water per bed night, which would have been a sensible way to make a decision about where to stay in 2018. Nor can I find out which hotel has the best labour practices. The certification processes don't tell me this. If a consumer finds in the hotel that it's failing to deliver on its sustainability pledges, most commonly, of course, failing to respect the fact that I put my towels back on the rack and I don't want them washed, there's very little I can do of getting redress for that. Go downstairs perhaps to reception and complain. All that will happen is the room attendant will get told off. I cannot find out what the hotel has been certified for, and I have no contract with the certifying agency from which I might seek compensation if I've been missold on the basis of their certification of the hotel. I think it's best to see certification as a hygiene assurance for those businesses concerned about their supply chain, particularly tour operators. But having said that, the evidence is that they are very little respected, even in Europe, where only 9.3% of European hotels in the 82,301 sample, which was looked at by Xavier Font and colleagues in 2024, only 9.3% of those European hotels are certified. Small and independent hotels face disproportionate certification costs, have limited resources, and lack support. So, although you're being encouraged to do it in Africa, let me remind you, 9.3% of European hotels, according to independent research in 2024, are certified. Now, here's an example. As it happens, it's from fair trade tourism. I don't pick on fair trade tourism with any particular pleasure. It's a great concept. The picture you can see comes from Travelosophy, which picked out the fact that what was outstanding about this particular 6-bed guest house in Glencairn, overlooking Simonstown on the Cape Peninsula. What was outstanding about it, they say, is the fact that they protect the water supply by making sure that even the wastewater that might otherwise, when you take a shower, waiting for the warm water to come through, be wasted, even that water is saved and used for cleaning or for washing. Great that that's picked out. Great that people get the impact of that kind of coverage with the photographs. But look what you will get on the Fairtrade Tourism website for Moonglow Guesthouse. That's the listing. Now, obviously, each business needs to make its own decision about how best to draw to the attention of potential consumers what its environmental practices are. But it is a decision that you need to make carefully, and don't just assume that certification will do that for you. So what's the imperative from a responsible tourism perspective? Well, first of all, of course, we all know that taking responsibility is the right thing to do, but no business or destination can do everything. You need to ask yourself what are the issues in your business and in your neighbourhood, and what can you do effectively to do something about them, either through your business or together with other businesses in the destination. Which RT practices will bring you market advantage? Will your consumers be more concerned about labour conditions, whether you're recycling your waste, whether you are dealing with your food waste by composting, whether you are more concerned with animal welfare? You'll know who your consumer and potential consumers are. You will know where the market advantage is. Having determined that and determined what you're going to do, you need to tell people what you're doing and tell them about the impact. And then you need to tell others, because it's only by encouraging replication that you can encourage change, and we all want to see more change. And some things, of course, can only be achieved by working together with others. And the return on RT provides reward and resources to do more. We shouldn't be embarrassed about talking about what we're doing. Rather, we should see it as part of the solution to the problems we all face. One of the things I've been working on recently with Transfrontier Parks destinations is looking at ways in which, by using your audited accounts, you can reliably support and therefore talk safely about your social and environmental claims. It's perfectly possible to use accountant audited accounts to report on local spend, on your emissions from fuel, both to run your vehicles and to heat your buildings, and on water consumption. And that's a work in progress now being taken up with EasyJet holidays. If this takes off, it'll be another example of something which has come out of Africa but had a big impact globally. So what are the alternatives to certification? Well, one possibly is the RT Awards, increasingly linked to citations on our website. If you win an award, you're perfectly entitled to link across to the citation and use that as corroborative marketing for you with your environmental claims. You can ensure that your claims are supported by the guest experience, so they know you're doing the things because they've seen you doing them. So if you say you're going to respect the fact they put the towels back on the rack and they don't want them washed, make sure you do. Or make sure that they can be reliably verified with evidence, for example, from your audited accounts, audited each year by your accountant as part of your compliance with tax regulations and national government. A question you might want to discuss on the panel is whether trade associations like ATA could produce standardised questionnaires to avoid the duplication, which at the moment takes an enormous amount of time. I think there's a lot of future for using accountant audited accounts to report on local spend, on emissions and water consumption. And that work in progress we'll be talking about again tomorrow when we talk about the Pigs Peak Hotel experience of this on at 13:30 in the Inspire Theatre tomorrow on Tuesday. Thank you for listening.